Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtottara Shatashri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रीला हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय। समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि
हरे
हरि
हरि
बोल।
बोल।
All glories to assembled devotees.
हरे कृष्णा
All glories to assembled devotees.
हरे कृष्णा
All glories to assembled devotees.
हरे कृष्णा
All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga.
हरे
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
हरे हरे
Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatar. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। श्रीमद् भागवतम कैंटो 3 चैप्टर 16 टेक्स्ट 24। तत्तेनभीष्टमिव सत्त्वनिधेर्विधित्सोः क्षेमं जनाय निजशक्तिभिरुद्धृतारेः नैतावतात्र्यधिपतेर्बत विश्वभर्तुस्तेजः क्षतं त्ववनतस्य सते विनोदः। तत्तेनभीष्टमिव सत्त्वनिधेर्विधित्सोः क्षेमं जनाय निजशक्तिभिरुद्धृतारेः नैतावतात्र्यधिपतेर्बत विश्वभर्तुस्तेजः क्षतं त्ववनतस्य सते विनोदः। तत्तेनभीष्टमिव सत्त्वनिधेर्विधित्सोः क्षेमं जनाय निजशक्तिभिरुद्धृतारेः नैतावतात्र्यधिपतेर्बत विश्वभर्तुस्तेजः क्षतं त्ववनतस्य सते विनोदः।
ते तत्तेनभीष्टमिव सत्त्वनिधिर्विहितो क्षेमं जनाय निजशक्तिभिर्उद्धृतरे नेतावतात्रय अधिपतेर्बत विश्वभर्तुर्तेजोक्षतं अवनतस्य स ते विनोदः
तत्तेनभीष्टम् इव सत्त्वनिधिर्विदित्सो क्षेमं जनाय निजशक्तिभिरुद्धृतारे नैतावतात्रयधिपतेर्बत विश्वभर्तुस्तेजःक्षतं त्व अवनतस्य सते विनोद
हरे कृष्ण। तत्ते नभीष्टम् इव शक्तनिधिर्विदित्सः क्षेमां जनाय निज शक्तिभिरुद्धरितारे नैता भतात्रि अधिपतेर्बट विश्वभर्तुस् तेजा शतं त अभन्तशाय सते विनोदः। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण। तत्ते अनाविष्टम् इव सत्त्वनिधेर्विदित्सो क्षेमं जनाय निजे शक्तिभिरुद्धृतरेह नैतावता त्रिअधिपतेर्पत विश्वभर्तुस्तेजः शेतं त्वा अवनतस्य स ते विनोदः। हरे कृष्ण।
Anyone else? Okay, so we'll do word-to-word translation. Okay. That destruction of the path of auspiciousness. Te, by you. Anabhishtam is not liked. 1 second. Are you able to hear me, or you are hearing some background sound?
We can hear you very clearly. There's a little bit of sound, but it's not disturbing.
Okay. There's some loudspeakers going on outside. That's why. Okay, I'll just continue. Once again, I'll start one more time. That destruction of the path of auspiciousness, te, by you. Anabhishtam is not liked. Destruction of the path of auspiciousness is not liked by you. Iva, as Satvanidhehe, the reservoir of all goodness, Vidhitso, desiring to do, Kshemam, good, Janaya, for the people in general, Nija Shakti Bihi, by your own potencies, Uddhrita, destroyed, Arehe, the opposite element, Na, not, Etavata, by this, Tri Adhipatehe, of the proprietor of the three kinds of creations, Bata, O Lord, Vishwabhartuhu, the maintainer of the universe, Tejaha, potency, Kshatam, reduced, Tu, but, Avanatasya, submissive, Saha, that, Te, your, Vinodaha, pleasure. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Dear Lord, you never want the auspicious path to be destroyed, for you are the reservoir of all goodness. Just to benefit people in general, you destroy the evil element by your mighty potency. You are the proprietor of the three creations and the maintainer of the entire universe. Therefore, your potency is not reduced by your submissive behavior. Rather, by submission, you exhibit your transcendental pastimes. Okay, purport. Lord Krishna was never reduced in his position by becoming a cowherd boy or by offering respect to Sudama Brahmana or his other devotees like Nanda Maharaj, Vasudev, Maharaj Yudhishthir, and the Pandavas' mother Kunti. Everyone knew that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Yet, his behavior was exemplary. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Satchid Ananda Vigraha. His form is completely spiritual, full of bliss and knowledge. And it is eternal. Because the living entities are his parts and parcels, originally they also belong to the same quality of eternal form as the Lord. But when they come in contact with Maya, the material potency, due to their forgetfulness, their existential constitution is covered. We should try to understand the appearance of Lord Krishna in this spirit as the Kumaras pray to him. He is eternally a cowherd boy at Vrindavan. He is eternally the leader of the battle of Kurukshetra, and he is eternally the opulent prince of Dwaraka and the lover of the damsels of Vrindavan. All his appearances are meaningful because they show his real characteristics to the conditioned souls who have forgotten their relationship with the Supreme Lord. He does everything for their benefit. The force exhibited in the battle of Kurukshetra by the desire of Krishna and through the agency of Arjun was also necessary, because when people become too irreligious, force is required. Non-violence in this respect is rascaldom. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you all, dear devotees, for joining today's Srimad Bhagavatam session. Today the world is celebrating the new year, 2026. Actually, the new year is the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that's how the Vaishnav calendar is calculating their time in Gaurabdas. Gaurabda means the year according to the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because really that is real life. When we awaken to our real self. What is our real self? Our real self is to render devotional service to Krishna. That's our constitutional position. The constitutional position of the living entity. The living entity is meant to render devotional service to the Supreme Lord. That is the only activity that we are supposed to do. However, being in the association of the material energy, being covered by the influence of the material energy, there are two levels, two layers of coverings. The first covering, avidya, causes the living entity to forget himself. A living entity by nature is a spirit. It is spiritual. It is not material. And the constitutional position of this living entity is it is meant to render devotional service. It is something like this. All the people who are born in a particular country, they are, or okay, I don't know if it is true in all countries, I'm not sure. In America or in India, let's say, either countries. When someone takes birth in that country, the person is eligible, by birthright, is eligible to become the president of that country. Simply because of taking birth in that country, according to the constitution of that country, the person is eligible to become the president. However, he becomes a president only when he acquires. He has to do certain things. And when he gets the qualification, then he actually becomes the president. You understand? Similarly, simply by being a living entity, Jivatma, the living entity is eligible. By constitution, the living entity has the right, and it is meant for rendering devotional service to the Supreme Lord. The living entity has that, it is meant, by constitution, it is meant to render devotional service to the Lord. However, for one to actually become a devotee, we will need some more qualification. What is that qualification? We need to receive that mercy from one who already has that bhakti. From a pure devotee, we need to receive that mercy. When we receive that, what is that mercy? That mercy is nothing but the devotion in the heart of that devotee. When we receive that, that is when we can also, the living entity who by constitution is meant to render devotional service, can actually begin to render devotional service. Even though all living entities by constitution are meant to be devotees, they will never ever understand that all the scriptures are guiding us towards, all the scriptures means the Vedas. The conclusion of the Vedas is what? One who surrenders to the Supreme Lord becomes fearless. That automatically means one who does not surrender remains fearful. As long as one is in this material existence, conditioned in this material existence, he will remain fearful. Fear of death, fear of losing what we have, fear of losing the loved ones. Oh, so I was telling you there are two coverings. So the first covering is forgetting our identity as a spirit soul. That is the first layer. Then what is the second layer of covering? Falsely identifying the self with the body. So the first covering is forgetting our identity as a spirit soul, and second covering is falsely identifying the self with the body. So that's called ahankar or false ego. And the first covering is ignorance or avidya. Because of these two coverings, now the conditioned soul acts as if he is possessed in madness, identifying with the body. Sometimes lamenting, sometimes enjoying, like that. So, what is being said here in this verse? The Kumaras are praying. What is the context here? If you see, this is the 24th verse. In the previous verses, in my last class a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about how the Lord pacified the Kumaras.
Yeah.
And while he was trying to pacify the Kumaras, he was praising them like anything. So many things he said. He said that because of my service to the Brahmanas, so in this case, because he walked by his own feet, that means his feet have served the Brahmanas by walking to gate number 7, where the Kumaras and Jai Vijay were present. So he walked personally, so that way he rendered service. Because of that service to the Brahmanas, his feet have become so glorified that his feet have become so great that the water that flows from his lotus feet, river Ganges, is able to purify the whole universe. And also he said that because of his service to the Brahmanas, now Lakshmi ji is not able to give up. It does not leave his lotus feet. This glory is of the Brahmanas. And he said that the water has become so pure by touching his lotus feet. And how his lotus feet have become so glorious? Because of serving the Brahmanas. Now the water has become so pure that even Lord Shiva puts that water on his head. How great are the Brahmanas? Like this, the Lord glorifies. In several verses, he is glorifying the Brahmanas. And by hearing this, now the Kumaras, they became actually confused. Because the Lord's words had double meanings. It can be taken as actual glorification of Brahmanas, but it can also be like a chastisement to the Brahmanas. How? Because in one verse, the Lord said that anyone who tolerates the misbehavior of a Brahmana, that means a Brahmana is transgressing his duties that a Brahmana is supposed to do. He's breaking he's doing adharma, he's not following his dharma. Even if he's doing that, someone who tolerates that misbehavior of a Brahmana and tolerating, he continues to respect. that Brahmana, giving him all respects of a Brahmana. Such a person who's tolerating the misbehavior of a Brahmana is so dear to the Lord. The Lord says, I keep the dust of his feet on my head. Now, what should we understand from this? Or the Kumaras, how should they take this? Who is capable of tolerating? Now, first of all, the Brahmanas are in the Varnashrama system, or in the four
Topmost.
Varnas, the Brahmanas are the topmost. And what are the qualities of the Brahmana? Shama, Dama, isn't it? Titiksha. He's tolerating. He's controlling his mind, controlling his senses. That means what is controlling? That means you're tolerating the urges of your senses. This is Brahmanical quality.
But they don't
Such a Brahmana is misbehaving. Who can tolerate such misbehavior of a Brahmana? Can anyone tolerate? Only a Vaishnava can tolerate. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna. This quality of tolerance and humility is there only in Vaishnavas. Here, who are the Vaishnavas? Jai Vijay are the Vaishnavas. So, when the Lord is saying that someone who tolerates the offense of a Brahmana and still he continues to respect him, that means who is that? That's a Vaishnava. I keep the dust of such a person on my head. So, by this statement, is he glorifying the Brahmanas or is he glorifying the Vaishnavas?
Vaishnavas.
He's glorifying the Vaishnavas. And in that, by glorifying the Vaishnavas, what is he saying? Jai Vijay are
Jai
Vaishnavas.
Vijay.
So, Vaishnavas are by nature tolerant. In spite of being Vaishnavas, that means they're Vaishnavas, that means naturally they're tolerant. In spite of that, if they have stopped Kumaras from coming and offended the Kumaras, what is the reason? The Lord is saying, that means they did it. I arranged it. They didn't do it. That's what he's saying by saying that. So, and one more point the Lord said, that if my servant commits an offense, then that's an offense committed by the master. Right? If my servant has committed something, an offense, I'm ready to even cut off my own arms. If there is a misbehavior on part of my servant, that means the Lord is taking responsibility for that offense. And for that, I can cut off my own arms, even if it is my body, part of his body. His arm, I'm able to cut. I'm ready to cut off my own arms. Again, how should we understand this? That means his devotee, his servant is so dear to him. For the devotee's case, he can even cut his own arms. For the sake of his devotee, for the sake of his servant, he can cut off his own arms. How dear are his devotees to him? So like this, hearing the glorification of the Lord, now the Kumaras are bewildered. They were contemplating the Lord's words and they were in a dilemma. Is the Lord appreciating us or is he scolding us? So, double meaning. They also said Lakshmi Devi is not able to give up the lotus feet of the Lord because he is holding the dust of the Brahmanas on his head. Or not like that, but as I said earlier, why Lakshmi Devi is not leaving? Because those feet have served the Brahmanas. Therefore, Lakshmi Devi is not leaving. Whereas the not able to leave the lotus feet. But what is the actual thing here? Why Lakshmi Devi is not leaving? It's not because the Lord has served the Brahmanas. The Lord naturally has that attraction. She is not able to. Why the whole world is going after Lakshmi Devi? Because Lakshmi Devi is the goddess of fortune. She has all the opulence. People want that opulence, so they are running after Lakshmi Devi. Everybody wants to get the favor of Lakshmi Devi, to get a glance of Lakshmi Devi. They worship Lakshmi Devi to get wealth. Dhanam Dehi, what else do you want? So many Dehi Dehi. They want so many things from Lakshmi Devi. Dhana Lakshmi, Dhanya Lakshmi, all kinds of things we want from Lakshmi Devi. So people are interested. They want a favor from Lakshmi Devi. So is the Lord also like that? Hankering for Lakshmi Devi all the time? Because she has so many opulences? Is it like that? No. He doesn't care for any opulences. But she is running after him all the time. After his lotus feet. Why? Because there is so much nectar in the lotus feet of the Lord. Of course, Lakshmi Devi as a devotee is very attractive to the Lord. Then she's a Vaishnavi, she's a devotee. As a devotee, the Lord is very attracted to Lakshmi Devi. But as the goddess of fortune who has all the opulences, because of which materialists are attracted. They want that wealth. So they are after Lakshmi Devi. The Lord is not attracted to Lakshmi Devi like that. So the Kumaras are saying, we don't know what you are trying to say. Huh? My Lord, you are calling the Brahmanas Devatas, Brahma Daivata. But Brahmanas are not constitutionally Devatas. Because you gave them that position, therefore they are Devatas. But that's not your position. You are Atma Daivatam. That means you are self-effulgent. You don't need to be given that position by someone. We Brahmanas are called Bhusuras. Bhusuras means the lords, the demigods on the earth. Sura means demigod. Bhu means earth. Bhusuras means those who are demigods on the earth. Why we are called Bhusuras? Because you respect the Brahmanas. Brahmanya Devaya. Namo Brahmanya Devaya. Go Brahmana Hitayacha. He is the well-wisher of the Brahmanas. He is the Lord of the Brahmanas. Because you are respecting Brahmanas, therefore we are called Bhusuras. It's just like the light coming from the sun and the light reflected from a mirror. We are like a mirror. Our glory is only because of your mercy on us. Whereas your glory is like the light of the sun. It is not dependent on anything else. But our fame and our glory is dependent on your respecting us. If you give us value, then the whole world is valuing us. So, then again, the Kumaras are saying, my Lord, one is respected when one follows dharma. Yes, when one follows his dharma, such a person is respected. But what is real dharma? Real dharma means bhakti to the Supreme Lord. Simply following our Varna Ashrama Dharma, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Grihastha, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas, this is not eternal dharma. Eternal dharma for the living entity is to render devotional service to the Supreme Lord. As Brahmanas, we are only following temporary dharma. This dharma, Varnashrama Dharma, is for the body. So we are Brahmanas, we are following the dharma of the Brahmana, but this is in temporary dharma. As long as I have this body, then I have this Brahmana dharma. But the living entity's eternal dharma is to render devotional service to the Lord. Vaishnavas follow eternal dharma. Whereas we Brahmanas are following temporary dharma. Therefore, Vaishnavas are superior to us. Those who follow eternal dharma, the result of that is also eternal. That means you'll get an eternal life. But those who follow temporary dharma, their result is also temporary. You go to Swarga, heaven, enjoy for some time, come back to this material world. Kshine punya martyalokam vishanti. But those who are rendering devotional service, ఆ బ్రహ్మ భువనాల్లోక పునరావర్తినోర్జున మాముపేత్యతు కౌంతయ పునర్జన్మన విద్యతే. One who worships me, he doesn't have another birth. But other than worshipping the Supreme Lord, other than rendering devotional service to the Lord, whatever else one may do, he will simply be going round and round in this universe. Sometimes upper planets, lower planets, middle planets. He has to take birth again and again. Even if he becomes Lord Brahma. A Brahma Bhuvanal Loka Punaravartinorjuna. He will have to take birth again. So, the result of eternal dharma when one is rendering, so you see here in these verses, the Kumaras are, when the Lord said those statements, they are seeing the Lord is actually glorifying the Vaishnavas. Or maybe he is glorifying us. They are in a dilemma. So now they are saying that the result of eternal dharma is also eternal. So those who are Vaishnavas, they are doing eternal dharma, so their result will be eternal. We are doing temporary dharma, Brahmana dharma, so our result is also temporary. Going to heaven is just for some time, it's not eternal. And my Lord, what are you saying? You are favored by us Brahmanas. Huh? Because of our favor, you have your position. You don't need anyone's favor. You don't need anyone's help. Rather, we Brahmanas need help. So, there are two types of Brahmanas. Pravritti Nishta Brahmanas and Nivritti Nishta Brahmanas. Pravritti Nishta Brahmanas means, Pravritti means those who are interested in material pleasures. They are Pravritti Nishta Brahmanas. Nivritti Nishta means those who are not interested in material pleasures. So, Gyanis, like the Kumaras, they are Gyanis. They are Nivritti Nishta Brahmanas. They are not interested in material pleasures. They want liberation. The Gyanis want liberation. Of course, now the Kumaras have come to Bhakti. But Gyani is better than Brahmanas who are interested in material pleasures, that like going to Swarga, etc. So Gyani is better than Pravritti Nishta Brahmana. But yogis are better than Gyanis. Yogis are even better than Gyanis. But the yogis also need your mercy to cross this material world. They are not independent. You see the order, lowest is Pravritti Nishta Brahmana, higher than that is Nivritti Nishta Brahmana, higher than that is yogi. Even that yogi is dependent on your mercy to be liberated from this material world. And how are you saying that you need our mercy to purify you or to purify the world? That means the Lord is purifying the whole world. He's saying, I am able to purify the whole world because of the mercy of the Brahmanas on me. Did you catch the point? Higher than the Brahmanas are Gyanis, and then there is yogis. But even the yogis need the Lord's mercy to cross this material world. Then how the Brahmanas, by the Brahmanas' mercy, the Lord is getting his power to purify everything? How you are saying this, my Lord? The Kumaras are saying. Further, in text 20 we will see, that earlier the Lord said, yeah, this part I think we already discussed about Lakshmi Devi. So, why Lakshmi Devi is running after the lotus feet of the Lord? The Lord's feet are compared to a lotus flower. There is so much fragrance that the bees are always, swarming around the lotus of his feet. The king of the bees is always surrounding. And what is there on the lotus feet? There's tulsi leaves, tulsi manjaris on the lotus feet of the Lord. And the bees are going around there, around the tulsi manjaris kept on the lotus feet of the Lord. And Lakshmi Devi is competing with the bumblebees to get a place on the lotus feet. Lakshmi Devi is always massaging the lotus feet. The bumblebees go, the king of the bees goes to the lotus feet, and Lakshmi Devi is competing with the bees to get a place there. What does that mean? That means you are saying that she is coming to me because of my service to the Brahmanas. On the contrary, she wants to be, you have, that was already said earlier, that your potency is, you are self-effulgent. You're not dependent on anyone, is already said. And she is competing with the bees to get a position at your lotus feet. The Lord is not after her opulence. Rather, Lakshmi Devi is running after the Lord all the time. It's not that he is running after her. And if he is, where is he running? He's always running behind his devotees. He's a Bhakta Vatsala. The devotee's heart is like a lotus. And what is that nectar in the lotus? That is their bhakti, their devotion. And the Lord finds great relish in the nectar or in that bhakti which is in the hearts of the devotees. And he wants that honey, that nectar. So like a bumblebee going to the lotus to collect, or the honeybee goes to collect the nectar from the lotus, the Lord is always going after his devotees. Why? Because in their hearts is that honey of their devotion. So he's always running behind his devotees. He's not running after Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi, how? The person who is in charge of all opulences. Everyone in the material world is running after her, but he's not running after her for any material opulences. But as Lakshmi Devi, the devotee, yes, in her heart there is the nectar of bhakti, so he'll be running after her for that bhakti. Then the Kumara said, my Lord, you are Triyuga. That means you are manifest in three yugas. Satya, Treta, Dwapar. In Kali Yuga, he doesn't come. He comes as Channa avatar, hidden avatar. Therefore, it is not counted. It is not said. Three Yuga, it is said. So, now, one more question here is, how is it that the Vaikuntha Vasis who are residing in the Vaikuntha, they also become affected by the modes of passion and ignorance? They also get angry. Like the Jai Vijay, they were not happy to see Kumaras just going in like that. We saw, their eyes were red. So Vaikuntha Vasis also become affected by passion and ignorance. How can Vaikuntha Vasis have passion and ignorance? So then, No, Vaikuntavasis are not influenced by passion and ignorance. So that will be explained in the coming verse, 26th verse, why they actually got angry. It was all arranged by the Lord. In short, it was arranged by the Lord. The details will be explained in that verse. They actually didn't get. But sometimes we see, like Durvasa Muni, right? He went to Vaikuntha. So their going to Vaikuntha is explained like a king inviting some, like a circus. He invites some wild animals to the court to entertain his royal members. But they are there just for a short time to entertain them, and then they're sent back to the forest. He invites bears, right? Like that, some maybe tigers or, trained elephants. They'll come, they just put up a show, and then they go back. Similarly, sometimes people who are not qualified to live in Vaikuntha can be invited to Vaikuntha by the Leela Shakti, and they go there, do what they're supposed to do to entertain the residents of the spiritual world, and then again they're sent back. They're not eternal residents there. So after hearing or after saying this, one more verse, just before today's verse, one more verse, they say, you are Tri Yuga, you are so magnanimous, you must, that means you're so great. You must bestow, you must give us your assurance. Please don't curse us. We are Brahmanas. Brahmanas are dependent on your mercy. If you punish Brahmanas, then what will happen to the whole world? So this is the crucial point which leads to today's verse. In the previous verse, what they are saying is, if you punish Brahmanas, because the Lord's name is Brahmanya Deva, right? He is the well-wisher of the Brahmanas. If you punish Brahmanas, then what will happen to the whole world? If you punish Brahmanas, being the one who respects Brahmanas, the well-wisher of Brahmanas, if you are punishing Brahmanas, what will happen to the rest of the world? Nobody will care for Brahmanas anymore. The Lord himself is punishing Brahmanas. Who will respect Brahmanas then? You understand the point? So, you should not punish Brahmanas. Brahmanas, this is actually a Vedic verdict that Brahmanas should never be given life-threatening punishments. Even if they commit a great sin, they are not punished on the same level as the other members of society. They are dealt with differently. They cannot be given, punishments like other members. Life-threatening punishments should not be given. So this is dharma, that Brahmanas should be protected. Stree and cows, old men, children, and Brahmanas. These 5 members deserve protection in a society. Of course, if a Brahmana commits some irreligious activity, some mild punishment is given, no doubt. Some correction measures are given, but not life-threatening punishments, capital punishments or things like that. No, not for a Brahmana. So that is dharma. You are the protector of dharma, right? You are the protector of dharma. If you don't follow dharma, then nobody will follow dharma in this society. Yadyad acharati sreshtas tatta devetaro jana. whatever a leader, an important person in society does, everyone will follow his example. You are the supreme leader. You are the protector of dharma. If you break dharma, then the entire society will follow your example. Nobody will respect Brahmanas. Brahmanas are the ones who are performing, who are teaching the society how to perform their karmas. So Vedic karmas will be finished. Without following Vedic karmas, the whole society is going to be in darkness. So you should not punish Brahmanas. That leads to today's verse. So in today's verse, what is said? Dear Lord, you never want the auspicious path to be destroyed, for you are the reservoir of all goodness. So you should protect the Brahmanas. You should not punish them, because this is against dharma, and you don't want to destroy the auspicious path, or you don't want to destroy dharma, because you are the reservoir of all goodness. And why you will follow this dharma? Just to benefit people in general, you destroy the evil element by your mighty potency. You are the proprietor. So how great are you? You are the proprietor of the three creations and the maintainer of the entire universe. That means you are so great, so great. You cannot be, anything you do cannot reduce your position. You understand? You are the proprietor of the three creations and the maintainer of the entire universe. Therefore, your potency is not reduced by your submissive behavior. Rather, by submission, you exhibit your transcendental pastimes. So, all these verses, the previous verses that we read, where the Lord is presenting himself as subordinate, as submissive, as less than the Brahmanas, is this actually reducing the Lord's position? No, because he is so great, nothing can reduce his position. Nothing can reduce his position. Your potency is not reduced by your submissive behavior. Rather, by submission, you exhibit your transcendental pastimes. That means your submission to us is your greatness. When someone so great becomes so humble, that's not a demerit. That's a glory. That is the greatness of the person. In spite of being so great, he's so submissive and humble. That's a quality. That's a merit. It's not a demerit. That's the greatness of that person. It does not reduce your potency. So this is the Kumaras' understanding. After hearing all that glorification about themselves, about the Brahmanas, they understood, because the Lord's statements had double meaning. They took the right meaning. So they understood it correctly. That you are glorifying us so much, but actually the greatness is yours. One more thing that we should understand here is that the Lord's words are not to be taken seriously like you take a guru's instruction, a spiritual master's instruction, right? So whatever he said about the Brahmanas, those statements shouldn't be taken like words that are etched in stone. They're not like Vedic statements. No. You should understand the context. The Kumaras were angry. They still had some remnants of anger in their heart that they were not allowed to go inside. So the Lord wanted to pacify them. Also, they were experiencing fear because they had cursed the Lord's dear devotees. Is the Lord going to punish us? Is the Lord going to be angry with us? They were worried. They were experiencing fear, and also they had some anger, remnants of anger in their hearts. So the Lord wanted to pacify them. So in order to pacify, he said things which were like exaggerations. Sometimes, not sometimes, this is, I don't know if this is applicable, but in India, if you go to vegetable markets, like you have, anyway, so, there will be many vendors sitting with their vegetables, and they will loudly call out to the customers passing by, come, because there are so many, it's a market, so there will be so many vendors sitting with their produce. So they try to attract the customers to themselves. So they'll say, come, come, my tomatoes are the best tomatoes in the entire market, and my price is the lowest. You will not find this type of tomato anywhere in the entire market, and my price is the lowest. Now there are so many vendors, many of them are selling tomatoes. Did he personally go to check each and every vendor, if every person, whether his tomatoes are actually the best? No, he didn't do that. However, he says that to attract customers to his shop. So this is called exaggeration. That means you say things which are not true for a purpose. What is that purpose? He wants to get attention of the customers so that they will buy his product. Similarly, sometimes we'll see in Shastras, in the scriptures, there will be certain statements. This is called Arthavada. Arthavada means exaggeration. To induce people to take to a particular ritual, or to induce them to do something. Sometimes Shastras will glorify that activity in an exaggerated way. You do this particular vrata and you will become immortal. Like that. So you shouldn't take the meaning as it is there. By doing this vrata, you'll become immortal. Immortal means you'll have a very long life. Immortal doesn't, there you shouldn't take literally. Immortal means you're liberated. No. By doing karma kanda, you're never liberated. Karma kanda will keep you in this material world only. But if you do this karma kanda, you'll become immortal. Such statements are said. How should you understand those statements? Those statements are to be taken as exaggerations, so that you will do it. Being attracted by the result, people will come and do it. For that reason, sometimes in many places you will see. Karma Kanda section you will see. Arthavada is said like that. So similar to that, here the situation is the Lord wanted to pacify. So when you want to pacify someone who's very angry or who's very disturbed, you may say things which are not exactly, sometimes you may say things which are not completely true just to pacify the other person. Or you may say things in a joking way. in a light way, in a joking way. So those statements should not be taken strictly like you would take the orders of the spiritual master, right? Disobeying the orders of the spiritual master is a Vaishnava offense. When the spiritual master is saying something, instructing you, that has to be taken very seriously. So here the words by the Lord, his statements to the Brahmanas, should not be taken like that, like the instructions of a spiritual master. That's what the Kumaras are saying here. That your submission to us is your greatness. So whatever he said, which shows that the Lord is subordinate, those statements are simply showing how great he is. But they are not in reality reducing the potency of the Lord. That is to be understood. And finally, I'll just quickly see for some points in the purport. Srila Prabhupada is saying, Lord Krishna is never reduced in his position. So if you take the example of Lord Krishna, you know, when his friend Sudama Brahmana came to visit him, the Lord, how he respected him. He washed the lotus feet of this Brahmana and sprinkled that water on his head and on the heads of all his wives. Why? Because he's a Brahmana and I'm a Vaishya. I'm sorry, a Kshatriya. Brahmanas are superior to Kshatriya. So Brahmanas must be respected by Kshatriyas. Just like we also see when Vishwamitra Muni came to visit Dasharath Maharaj. So this is the etiquette. When a Brahmana comes, the Kshatriya gives his own seat. The Lord was actually sitting on a bedstead. When Sudama Brahmana came, he made Sudama, the Lord rose, got up from his bedstead, and he made Sudama sit there, and he sat at the feet of Sudama, and he washed the feet of Sudama and sprinkled that water on his head. That means he's becoming subordinate. Then also to his father, Nanda Maharaj, he carries the shoes. As a little boy, he's carrying the shoes of his father on his head. Then Vasudev. And then you see with the Lord's dealings with the Pandavas. Yudhishthir Maharaj is the eldest. Bhimsen and Yudhishthir Maharaj are elder in age on this earth in terms of their appearance to Krishna. Arjun and Lord Krishna are same age. So therefore, when Lord Krishna would meet Yudhishthir Maharaj, he would bow down to him like an elder brother. And what to speak of their mother, Kunti Maharani, like an elder, he would bow down to her. But because he was acting like a subordinate, it doesn't mean that now his position is reduced, he is lesser than all of them. They were all aware that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And his submissive behavior was actually so exemplary. So he's setting an example to the world, but also it was so attractive to see someone so great being so submissive. That was actually, it is a wonderful, attractive quality of the Lord, like that. Yes, and about the living entities being parts and parcels, we discussed that in the beginning. How in the conditioned state, the living entities are covered by Maya. Because the living entities are his parts and parcels, originally they also belong to the same quality of eternal form as the Lord. What is that eternal form? This is one last point and I will end. It's already 9 o'clock. So eternal form means the spirit soul is eternal. Spirit soul has no birth and has no death. It has a form. What is that form? It is uniform. Eka Rupa Swarupa Bhag. Spirit soul's form is Eka Rupa Swarupa Bhag. That means like a point. When you look at a point from any side, it looks uniform. So that's the form of the spirit soul. It's not formless. It has a form, But it is so small. We read about the measurement of the spirit soul. It is the smallest thing that can exist. Therefore, it is not possible to cut it any further. So when something is that small, you cannot see any distinction of head and hands and legs. So there's no question of any distinctions. That's why it's called uniform. That is the eternal form of the living entity. The living entity is the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord. That living entity can come either under the control of the external energy or under the control of internal energy. When it comes under the control of external energy, that means when it is in this material world, it gets a body made of the external energy. And when the living entity is now under the control of, or the living entity, yes, when the living entity is now covered, you can say, is under the shelter, that's the right word, is under the shelter of the superior energy, internal energy. And when it reaches perfection, this living entity is awarded a body which is made of the internal energy. But the living entity is always marginal only. The living entity. And what is the form of that living entity? Uniform form. And that is eternal. So that's why here in the so that's why here we see Srila Prabhupada in the purport is saying that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Satchidananda Vigraha. That means he is eternal. He has bliss and he has a form. Similarly, living entities also have the same quality of eternality, and they are also, the living entity has the bliss, but it's not the same as the Lord. It's different. Living entity's bliss is Atmananda. And Vigraha, it has a form. But what is that form? Uniform form. But when they come in contact with Maya, as I explained in the beginning of the class, so first there's the covering of avidya, and then there's another covering of ahankara. Due to avidya, they forget their constitutional position, and due to ahankara, they get a false identification. So, the way the Kumaras are praying, Srila Prabhupada is saying, we should try to understand the appearance of Lord Krishna in this spirit, right? As the Kumaras pray to him. That means the Lord's pastimes in this world are, of course, when the Lord does something, it has multiple goals are achieved by that. He is enjoying his pastimes, he's relishing, but while that is happening, we are also getting so many lessons from that. So all his appearances are meaningful because they show his real characteristics to the conditioned souls who have forgotten their relationship with the Supreme Lord. He does everything for their benefit. Like that. Of course, the last line says that non-violence in this respect is rascaldom. Like in the force exhibited in the battle of Kurukshetra by the desire of Krishna and through the agency of Arjun was also necessary, because that means whatever the Lord did, whether it is the battlefield of Kurukshetra, whatever pastimes he performed, there is a lesson to be learned from all those pastimes for us. And what is the lesson there in the battlefield of Kurukshetra? When the people become too irreligious, force is required. Non-violence in this respect is rascaldom. So I will stop there. It's way over time. Thank you so much for staying back. Does anyone have any last one, maybe one question?
Hare Krishna
comment?
Mataji.
Yes, ma'am.
Definitely this class will have a lot for us to think about and ponder. A couple of things that you said that really stick out are, you don't take things literally, but you follow your gurus. I mean, that is we all know that we should follow our guru's instruction. There, nobody questions that. But the way you clarified today, you don't take things out of context, and how
Yes.
important it is for to accept a guru and to accept teachings from the guru, because we are not capable, at least I am not capable of deciphering all of those things. And these past two chapters have been so thought-provoking. You were saying that brahmanas, women, children, old people have to be
Cows, old
protected.
men.
So, and that point about perspective is so important. I'm a woman and I'm getting old, so I need to be protected. On the other side, I'm a mother, I'm a teacher, so I should be also responsible. And I've always thought, especially Bhagavatam, is for us to really look inward and see how to apply all of this. This is just not some reading that we do and then we put it aside and then start our day and go about. We have to apply all of these things all day long.
Yes.
I was just wondering if you could just help a little bit more in saying, how do we better apply all of this? Again, nobody questions that we should be applying this, but I feel all of us are not able to apply it. We get, we will use that excuse, time, place, and circumstance sometimes. Sometimes we say, it has, I'm in this position and so I have to do it. Again, in my own case, I feel I have two positions on this side, two positions on that side. So it has to be context, it has to be, but people like me who are not quite so intelligent, what else can we do to help ourselves use all of this information, teachings that we have available to us to better apply them?
Yeah.
Just some
There
tips.
is there is really no tips because good things come with lot of effort and hard work. There's no shortcuts.
Mm.
But how to apply, that's the most important thing, how to apply. Before we can apply, we need to understand properly.
Mm.
The picture has to be clear. So, but that's true. Ultimately, when you start applying, that's when we will see the transformation. But it is a step-by-step process.
Mm.
The goal is ultimate goal also we have various levels of goals. There is intermediate goals and then there is the ultimate final goal. The final goal is to develop love of Krishna. Krishna Prema, that's the highest. But before that, an intermediate goal is to surrender to Krishna. That's the beginning of pure devotional service, to surrender to Krishna. What does surrender mean? Surrender means, as you said, applying everything. You sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. This is surrender. Giving up all other dharmas, whether it is my dharma as a mother, as a teacher, as a wife, as a daughter, because
Anything.
all these dharmas are coming from my body. I'm not this body. I'm a spirit soul. And spirit soul's position is to render devotional service to Krishna. When we talk about surrender, that's what it means. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam hrishikena hrishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. That means that's when we begin pure devotional service. When we come out of all bodily designations. Even though externally we may be in those situations, but that is just external to show the world. I won't be affected by those things. My consciousness, my endeavor will be continuously, I will be on that platform of Jivera Swarupahoy Krishnera Nityadas. My only identity is I am a servant of Krishna. That is an intermediate goal. Can you imagine? Who is on that position, on that platform today in our here in this group? Who is on that platform? We are not there. But that is the beginning of pure devotional service. Pure devotional service. According to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. That means we have to do something before we get there. There's a lot to be done before we get there. This surrender means, surrender is a symptom of full faith. Dhrida Shraddha or full faith. The symptom of faith in Krishna, symptom of faith in Bhakti is surrender. How to get this faith? The meaning of this faith is Shastrartha Vishwasa. Shastrartha Vishwasa means conviction in the conclusion of Shastra. We cannot separate Shastra with what we do in our life. You have to follow Shastra in our daily life also. And we cannot say, I will accept one portion of Shastra and I will reject the other portion. We have to take it completely. So if you read Srimad Bhagavatam is the ultimate, topmost of, it's the cream of all the Vedas. If you compare the Vedas to a tree, the ripened fruit of the tree is Srimad Bhagavatam. Whatever is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam is the ultimate. If there is any statement opposing the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam, which takes precedence? Bhagavatam takes precedence. In that Bhagavatam, you read the purports of Srila Prabhupada, you will see we are not yet in the position of full surrender. That means we are still in the position of identifying with this body. Designations coming from this body. I am still in that position. What should such a person do? For such people, there are duties related to the body, and what duties I am supposed to do, that is also given in Shastra. This is called Varnashrama Dharma. But for some reason, whatever reason, we want to put that aside, saying that this is not practical now, and directly we want to jump to pure devotional service, thinking that holy name is sufficient. By chanting holy name, we achieve everything. No doubt we achieve everything by chanting holy name. But who is chanting the holy name? 24 hours? Taking full shelter of Krishna. How many of us are doing that? If we are able to do that, okay, no need. But when we are not able to do that, there is duties. First of all, just in 1 minute. First of all, the system is like this. Recognize the person's nature. This is about bodily activities. What activities I'm supposed to do? Identify a person's varna. And this happens in school, in the case of a child, when he goes to school or Gurukula or Varnashrama college. Identify what is his nature, psychophysical nature. After identifying that, then train that person according to that. After training, then you engage him in that activity. Now that person has to engage in that occupational duty, whether there is happiness or distress, pleasure or pain, loss or gain, it does not matter. He has to stick to his duty. What happens when one does dharma like that? Take our example as a wife, as a mother. Stri dharma is different. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra dharmas are there, but for women, there's Stri dharma. It's not always pleasing. You have to face so many challenges, pains, difficulties. But in spite of that, you hold on to your dharma. What happens by doing that is you will be lifted above the bodily platform. That's why dharma is important. Dharma is not meant, we have a wrong notion that Varnashrama dharma means now you rubber stamp someone, label someone, this is Brahman, this is Kshatriya, this is Vaishya, and devotees are transcendental. Why we have to identify ourselves? It's not about identifying. You need a duty, a dharma, which is coming from Shastra and which is given to you because of your particular nature, which is identified by the Guru. This is for maintaining your body, your physical body. You're doing this occupational work. And by doing that work, when there is difficulties coming, you tolerate the pains and pleasures. By tolerating, what happens is, why you're able to tolerate? Take another example. Winter, it's so cold. When someone takes shower with cold water, if you are under the bodily identification, you will not be able to do, oh, it's so cold. But if someone sees, I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul doesn't get burnt, right? What is that? Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavaka, nachainam kledayanti apo, nashoshayati maruta. The soul cannot be cut by any weapon, it cannot be burnt by fire, it cannot be moistened by water, like this. So the soul is not affected by cold or heat. So somebody with that understanding, he puts his body through, that means he does his duties. It doesn't matter whether it is winter or not. My dharma is I should get up in the morning, I should take a shower. He will do it. What happens by that? You're going beyond the stage of the body, because the body says, no, it's not possible. But for the spirit soul, when you tolerate, by tolerating, you continue to do your dharma, that lifts you, brings you above the bodily platform. This is just one example, like this. So, but to do that, first of all, you should have a dharma. The problem in today's world is, Mataji, with all of us devotees, is our living, our jobs, our lifestyle, our food, our association is not in line with Shastra. On one hand, we want to make progress in devotional service. On the other hand, our lifestyle and our work that we are doing, the food that we are eating, so many things are against. So even though we are trying to make progress in one step, we are being pulled back for 2 hours maybe we chant, and even those 2 hours, how nicely we are chanting, we don't know. And the rest of the 22 hours we are associating with the modes of passion and ignorance. So we are not able to move forward. So how to apply was your question. So even the activities that we are doing, those activities have to be done according to Shastra. Shastra, Guru, Sadhu. Triangle. So what Guru is saying, we will double check, because sometimes Gurus, we've seen there can be problems. So in that case, you have to check what the Guru is saying. Is it aligned with Shastra and Sadhu? Whatever a Sadhu is saying, you have to double check with Guru and Shastra. And whatever you read in Shastra, whether you are understanding it properly or not, you have to check with Guru and Sadhu. So we need all three all the time. And if one is making a mistake, you will know by checking with the other two. It's a triangle. All three are required. So whether for what I'm doing, for my maintenance, for my bodily maintenance, my activities, it has to be approved by Sadhu, Guru, Shastra. And then when I do this activity properly in the mode of goodness, then my intermediate goal is to come to the point of full faith, so that I will be doing only direct devotional service 24 hours. Even though externally I may be in this world doing things, but my conviction is that I am a servant of Krishna. This is what I am supposed to do. Did it help in any way, Mataji? Whatever I said.
Yeah, yes, it did, and I think it comes down to choices. You were saying we are being pulled. We are also being pulled because of the choices we are making. We could
Yes.
be, and I realize I do understand that there are difficulties, there are, real issues that we have to navigate, but it's also about the choices we make. And like it is said, you accept what is favorable, you reject what's unfavorable. Probably I should do a better job of rejecting what is unfavorable, and
Yes.
uh, that will help. Um,
And also, it's not one person's work, Mataji. It takes a whole society, community. Even if one person wants to do, I have to depend. For my food, I have to depend on society. I'm not able to grow what I want. So we have to come together as a community to make it happen. It's not going to happen by one. So making the choices, we have to come together and form our communities, devotee communities, where we are not depending on the world outside. Then in that association, we can all actually progress. This is given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This was pushed by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. This is what Srila Prabhupada has also given us. And he said, in his last days, also he said that the one thing which he could not complete is establishing the Varnashrama societies. So we should have our devotee communities. We have the temple in the center and devotees come on Sundays, but that is not enough. We should all be living together in one place, and we should be self-sufficient for what our devotees need in terms of food, in terms of education, medicine, protection. We should be complete. For that, we need all four, not just farmers who are producing food and cow protection. We also need kshatriyas who are protecting from outside attacks. We need brahmanas, of course, certainly. And we need, and these Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, we are doing this. The common goal of everyone is to come to pure devotional service. When we live like that together, then you will see how nicely, harmoniously we will be able to progress in Krishna consciousness. So, at least now in the current stage, we are just talking about it. We should be open to this, and we should hear and try to educate ourselves about this and look for ways how this can actually materialize by the Lord's mercy and our efforts combined together.
I mean, we were hearing last week, I think we heard about Kurmagram.
Yes.
And so I think there are efforts happening, and we should do our part in supporting them in any way we can.
Prabhupada said, every temple should be a Varnashrama college. So it's not some example somebody is doing in some place. No, not that every temple should have. He said every temple should be. Because we are not yet on the platform of pure devotional service. So we all need it. This is leading to pure devotional service. We have to see the connection. So it's not that somebody is doing, let me support that. No. I need it here in ISKCON Philadelphia for my community of devotees here. And this is not meant just for our devotees. It's for the greater society also. It's for everyone. The lifestyle that people are living today is just going further down. If we want to usher that golden age of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's not going to happen in this way. That will only happen when we have our Varnashrama communities. That's the only way.
Let us work on that.
Yes, and maybe at least contemplate on that.
Yes,
I think
yes.
we should stop here. I think it's 9:26.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Really very
On,
helpful, Mataji.
January 1st, it was a very good...
Happy New Year. Krishna consciously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Thank you,
were you
Mataji.
saying,
Hare
Shobha
Krishna.
Radhe Mataji?
No, I
Last
said it's good thing to contemplate on, and I know it is not really a new year, but it's a day off for all of us. Good points for us to
Yes.
again, like I said, applying it is really important, not just listening, turning off, getting out of this class and moving on, but to really think
Yes.
about everything. I mean, there were so many points today that we could be thinking about and figuring out how to apply, how to move it forward. I think your last instruction, it has to be done in ISKCON Philadelphia. It has to be done
Yes.
here at my house. It should be,
Yes, exactly. Yes.
yeah. So let us all do that. And thank you
Thank you
again.
very much, Mataji.
Thank you,
Krishna.
Vidyavali Mataji. Thank you.
Yeah, Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Sumant
Madhusuman.
Mataji.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, and very, very happy New Year. And thank you for all your classes and your association and everyone's association. Very important. Hare Krishna,
Thank you,
Mataji.
Mataji. Thank you for your regular participation. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Pancha
So we will-
kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam
Patitanam pavanebhyo
pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
namo
namo
namah.
namah.
Namo Namah.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Antakoti Vishnu Jai.
Jai. Thank you.